And I am excited to introduce to you someone that's becoming a friend, a peer author, and someone I've just been impressed with as they have. I've watched Dr. Vance, even I think I've watched you grow even the last a little bit that I've known you. It's been incredible to see how God's promoted you and how he is using you to touch people. And so we want to welcome all of our viewers. I'm going to go a little bit deeper in introducing him in just a moment. But as we do every week, we will be giving away a gift for our most engaged viewer tonight. And so if you are with me this evening, go ahead and put some comments in, tag somebody, share this on your timeline. This is a very important conversation. I've got Miss Joan on. I've got Miss Linda on. So go ahead and comment. We like to talk to you and let you talk to us. And I know Dr. Vance is going to be taking some questions for those of you that are interested. Hey, Dr. Glover, good to have you on with us this evening. And so again, the most engaged viewer is going to win Dr. Vance's book absolutely free. He's got it with him, and I'm going to get him to talk to you about it. But Dr. Vance.
It's so good to see you. Thanks, Tony, for being here. Excited to be with this family of believers and talk about some really important stuff tonight.
Well, we are talking about a critical issue, and that probably anyone that's watching in the United States of America, I can't talk for all the other countries. Now, I've got to go to a lot of other countries, but I'm very familiar with the United States of America, and we're talking about busyness, and it's almost like something that's a badge of honor in our culture that, you know, hey, I'm busy, right?
Yeah.
And I know we're going to learn a lot from you, and you've really taken an approach aggressively about this topic. Yeah. And so we're going to talk some more about that, but go ahead and introduce your book, because here's what I know about your book. It's in the running for Author Academy Awards. And for those who are connected to me, you know, my book won in that religion category. And so I hope the same for you in your category. But it is a very innovative title and a great subject. So talk to us about Garland Vance. Tell me about your wife. Tell me about your family. Tell me about your book. Let's get to know you tonight.
Yeah. So thanks so much, Tony. For those of you who are watching, Tony and I actually got to know each other right before the Author Academy Awards. And he said to me, "Hey, if I win, will you videotape me?" And it was like this high pressure moment. I remember being like, "Oh my gosh, if he wins, what if my camera breaks down?" So man, congratulations to you on that award. I know it's well deserved. I love Unlocking Your Divine DNA. Loved it. And so thanks for having me. So family, it's great to see you all here. Great to see some comments. As Tony said, I am the author of, let me see if I can get this lined up, Getting Unbusy, 5 Steps to Kill Busyness and Live with Purpose, Productivity, and Peace. Little background to me, and before we even talk about busyness, I spent 20 years in different forms of pastoral ministry. I spent 15 years with Chick-fil-A on the nonprofit side, doing pastoral care and leadership development for some of their nonprofits. My wife and I did that together, then moved over as a leadership development pastor for a church in the Houston area. And then during that time in Houston, my wife and I started our own business, because what we began to see is we wanted so desperately to be in the business world with the people who were so often on the front lines of trying to solve problems. And for us, it just worked really well to go into leadership development and leadership consulting. So my wife and I have been married for 20 years. We were supposed to go to Hawaii this year for our 20th anniversary, and that got delayed. So maybe it'll be the 21st anniversary. And then we have 3 amazing kids, and they're amazing because they have their mom who is amazing. But we have a 16-year-old son named Calvin, a 14-year-old daughter named Sophie, and a 10-year-old son named Toby. And we also have a pet turtle.
Wow, pet turtle.
Yeah.
You probably heard my pet in the background. He's trying to get on the live tonight, I think. So, well, excellent. Well, I hope that you get 2 weeks out of that Hawaiian vacation, since you're going to combine 2 years into it.
Yeah,
And
I hope so too.
21 years, 21 weeks. Who knows?
Yeah.
I wish the best for you. So when did you determine you were going to write a book?
So as I feel like it's one of those things where I've always known that I had a lot of books in me, and actually we've got the next 6 already planned out, and
Awesome.
so I've always known that I had a lot of books in me, and had some messages that I wanted to share with the world. It really came down in 2018. I saw an advertisement for this publishing company with Carrie Oberbrunner that you and I are both a part of. And in the middle of Hurricane Harvey, I decided to, like, we're in Houston, buckets and buckets and buckets. I think 9 trillion gallons of water are literally falling at that time. And I saw an advertisement and said to my wife, hey, we've talked about writing a book. I've talked about writing a book. Now's the time. Let's just apply and see what happens. And,
Wow.
and that's what happened.
That's incredible. And so it seems like when you meet somebody, they're always talking about how busy they are.
Yeah.
So you're telling us to get unbusy.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, I mean, there is a sense of pride. Hey, I'm busy. It's like that's the mark of being an American. Why did busyness become an issue for you, or why did you write a whole book about business?
Yeah. So, go back in time to 2013, and anytime somebody asked me how I was doing, I said the exact same thing. I would say, "Oh, I'm really good. I'm just so busy." In fact, if you've said that in the last week or so, if somebody's asked you how you're doing and you've said, "Oh, I'm good. I'm just really busy." If you said that in the last week, then just write "busy" in the comments so that everybody can kind of lament together that we've all done this. We've all said busy. So that was where I was most of the time, is I just commented that I was busy. And then in 2013, I started having all of these challenges, these physical challenges. So I started having chronic migraine headaches, where about 3 times a week I would just go down and couldn't get out of bed, was just in tremendous pain. I started having heart palpitations, where I'd be sitting at my desk and all of a sudden I would start pouring sweat. My heart would start racing, and I would have no idea. I was in good shape, and yet I was having all these problems. And man, I'm seeing all of these busy comments coming in. Yes, I see a lot of people saying busy, busy, busy. I was having extreme forgetfulness. So like I would have these conversations, and important conversations, and the next day somebody would reference them and I would have no idea what they were talking about. And then I was having this just unbelievable exhaustion. Like I would wake up exhausted, I would go to bed exhausted, I would sleep 8 hours, I would, sometimes more, and yet I was still exhausted all the time. And finally, I said, man, I've got to go see my doctor. Something's not right here. So I go visit with him. I tell him about all of these problems, and he says, well, Garland, tell me a little bit about your life. And I said, well, I have a really good life, doc. I'm just kind of busy. He said, well, tell me what you mean by busy. And, kind of tell me what you've got going on. And I said, well, I have this full-time job that I'm doing with a nonprofit, and I work 50 to 60 hours a week. And I'm working on my doctorate in leadership and spiritual formation. And that takes between 10 and 20 hours a week. And between those two things, I travel about 60 days a year where I'm away from home. And my wife and I have 3 young kids, and we've got them involved in a couple of things in the community. And we're helping our church develop a new leadership development program that's going live in a couple of years. And, that's it. That's what I'm kind of doing right now is that. So I'm doing really well. I'm just so busy. And that's when my doctor put his hand on my shoulder and he looked me in the eye and he said, Garland, I'm concerned for your life. And I thought, oh, is this a brain tumor? Is this, what is going on here? That's this bad that he's concerned for my life. And he said, I know what your problem is. You are stressed out. And I said, Doctor,
Wow.
I'm not stressed out. I don't feel stressed. And he said, well, your head feels stressed every time you have a headache, these 3 times a week. And I said, well, why in the world would I be stressed, doctor? And he said, because you're so busy. And I got to be honest with you, I thought that was a ridiculous answer. And so I said to him, I was like, everybody's busy. Of course I'm busy. Everybody's busy. And he said, I know, and it's killing us all.
Wow.
And it was really at that moment that I was like, either my doctor knows something that I don't know, or he's totally wrong. And so since I was working on this doctorate, I was like, I'm going to just start researching busyness a little bit and see what it's doing to us and if it's really as bad as he said it is. And that's when I came to some research that just turned my world upside down.
Wow. Well, I want you to tell us what busyness is. And for those of you that are watching right now tonight, I posted a link into the comments that gives you an opportunity for an exclusive private coaching session with just a few people tonight. And so if you would like to sign up for that, we're going to be taking registrations through the end of this conversation until about 7:10, 7:15. And you can join us for that deeper conversation as it relates to. So as you're studying this concept of busyness, what is busyness? I mean, everybody says they got it. Maybe it's the busyness 19. I don't know, right?
Right. Yeah. So what I discovered is that busyness is an overcommitment to too many good commitments. See, nobody's busy because they're doing bad things, unless you're a dictator or a drug dealer, everybody else, we're busy with good commitments. For me, work was good. School was good. Parenting was good. Helping our church was good. All of those activities were really, really good. But when you put them all together, it became bad. And Tony, it reminds me of going to a buffet. When I was like 13 years old, my parents would always take us, our family, out to eat at a buffet. And there was all this good food on the buffet.
Wow.
But I would eat so much of the good food, so much of the chicken and the vegetables and the salad and the steak and all that stuff, so much good food that I would ultimately make myself sick. And so that's what busyness is. It's this buffet of unbelievable opportunities that we have in our life. But when we do so much of it, it becomes a bad thing.
Wow. That is an incredible illustration, because it's not that what you're committed to is bad.
No.
It's just that you're committed to too many good things. That's so busyness was really bad for you. If you're watching us tonight and you say, I'm gone to the buffet too many times on busyness, so go ahead and write buffet in there.
Nice.
Right? Buffet. Maybe was that one of your 6 books? The buffet.
No, not yet. Maybe that'll be 7.
That'll be number 7. And so, okay, so here's the deal. Some people that have connected with us up to this point, they're probably saying, "Oh, this is a business conversation. This is about people in the marketplace, and it doesn't really impact me." But I have a question for you. Is it possible that busyness hurts people's faith?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So this was for me one of the critical questions as a follower of Jesus Christ. One of the big questions was, what does it mean to be good, right? What does it mean that something is good? And so I just went to the words of Jesus and said, okay, if something helps me love God with all of my heart, soul, mind, and strength, it helps me love others, and it helps me love myself, that's got to be good. Does busyness do that? And I'll give you the short answer to it. And then if you want, we can go into the much deeper answer of it. But the short answer is, if you look at that, love God, love others, love yourself, what you're going to find is that busyness prevents you from doing all 3 of those.
Wow. So how does that happen? I mean, how can it be wrong to do good?
Yeah. So let's just kind of break it apart a little bit, piece by piece. So let's just talk about loving ourselves. Okay. We're going to kind of go in reverse order. Love yourself, then love others, then love God. So does busyness help us love ourselves? Well, maybe one of the best ways to answer that question is to see, what does busyness do to our body, right? We were given a body. We're called to steward our body and take care of it. So does busyness help us love our body? Well, here's the research behind it. Your body was designed to respond to stress. All of us have stress in our lives, okay? And anytime your body experiences stress, let's say maybe, so I'm in East Tennessee, right? Let's say I'm walking through the woods and I come in contact with a bear. That's a very stressful activity. Anytime you have any kind of stress, your body releases adrenaline and cortisol. It's called your sympathetic nervous system. And adrenaline and cortisol are there to create a fight or flight type of situation, but it's also there to help you pay attention to exactly what's in front of you. Cortisol shuts down your brain's ability to think long term. It shuts down your body's unnecessary systems. You don't need your digestive system if you run into a bear, right? That's not important right now. So this adrenaline cortisol kicks in, and all of that is designed to give you the energy that you need to either run from the bear or punch the bear in the nose. But about 2 hours, maybe 3 hours after you've gotten away from the bear, your body's parasympathetic nervous system kicks in. And the parasympathetic nervous system helps you get rid of all that adrenaline and cortisol. And when that happens, you have this feeling of rest, of almost exhaustion sometimes. Okay. So that's the way that your body is designed to work with stress. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. In stress research, your body cannot tell the difference between good stress and bad stress. So bad stress is I'm running into a bear in the woods. Good stress is I've got a really important meeting about something that I want to sell, or I'm a doctor and I've got to meet with patients all day long and help them, right? Those are all causes of stress. Or my kids have soccer games and I've got to get to their games across town, and you know, traffic is packed in together. Our bodies can't tell the difference between good stress and bad stress. So every time you have one of those good stressors, you have adrenaline and cortisol that get released. That gives you the energy to deal with it, which sounds awesome. But here's the problem, Tony. When we introduce busyness, our bodies don't have the ability to kick in that parasympathetic nervous system. It doesn't have the ability to wash our bodies of all of that adrenaline and cortisol. And instead, we go straight back to another stressor.
Wow.
And when our bodies begin to build up adrenaline and cortisol, there are massive numbers of diseases and dysfunctions that happen. So like take just for me example, chronic headaches, that's a part of adrenaline overload. Diarrhea, even constipation, diverticulitis, colitis, chronic fatigue type of syndrome. There's over 26 different diseases that are connected to just this stress overload that happens because of busyness. So all this to say, does busyness help us love ourselves well? No way. It absolutely destroys our bodies. And we haven't even gotten to the other two parts, but I just want to stop because I said a lot right there, but it destroys your body.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that as Icon, one of our perspectives in life is that God isn't just concerned about our spirit.
Yeah.
We focus our Christian experience to Sunday mornings at 11 o'clock when we worship and praise. But the reality of it is that God wants us to be whole, body, soul, and spirit.
Yeah. And
anything that robs us of that wholeness is an attack on our destiny.
Yeah.
So that's an incredible, it's something that all of us need to pay attention to. I noticed one of the comments was asking the question, doesn't cortisol also cause belly gain? And so gaining weight, those aspects. And the reality of it is that whenever we go into our ministry assignment, our purpose, our calling, and yet our body isn't capable of carrying us there, or our body actually works against us from being focused on our purpose, then we have a problem.
Yeah.
I had one pastor who was a spiritual authority in my life, and he was very committed to working out. And his perspective was, when I become 65 years old, I want to take a 45-year-old body into the assignment.
That's good. I love that.
Right. And so that this body doesn't have any opportunity to rob us of our divine destiny.
Yeah. That's awesome. That is awesome.
So,
man. So let's talk a little bit. I mean, we talked about, does it help you love yourself? And the answer is no. If it's good with you, I'd love to talk a little bit about, does busyness help us love other people well? Okay.
Definitely.
Because a lot of times we are busy, especially as Christians. We are busy because we love other people. Somebody asks us to help out with something and we want to say yes. Our kids want to get involved in the community, and so we want to say yes. And we want to be good neighbors and good citizens who are salt and light to the world. And again, those are great, great things. But check this out. Busyness has been connected to burnout. In fact, one of the original researchers of burnout, she first came out and she said, burnout is primarily for people who are pastors, for people in the medical field, for nurses, for kind of the helping professions. And then about 10 years later, she revised her research and she said that the greatest cause of burnout was people who were overcommitted.
Wow.
And overcommitment was the problem that created burnout. Well, there's 3 stages in burnout. The first is emotional exhaustion, where you just don't feel like you've got it. The last is a loss of sense of personal accomplishment, where no matter what you do, it feels like it's just never enough. But the second one is so helpful in understanding what busyness does and helping us love others. Busyness causes this stage of burnout known as depersonalization. And depersonalization is when we begin to actively dislike the very people who we love and we care about the most. And this is what was fascinating. In the 70s, Princeton Seminary did kind of a research project where they took seminary students, and they gave them a fake assessment to help them identify, what type of ministry they'd like to go into. And then when they came out of that assessment, they sent them across campus, and they said to them, you're going to go across campus and you're going to preach a sermon on the Good Samaritan, right? On these people who ignored this hurt person. So you're going to go across campus, you're going to preach a sermon on the Good Samaritan. But as they were getting ready to go, they broke the individuals into one of 3 categories. In one category, they called it low hurry. And they would say to the student, you're running ahead of schedule. You've got plenty of time. Make your way across campus. To the second group, they called it medium hurry. And they said to them, you have just enough time to get across campus. Don't take your time, but you've got just enough time. So get over there. But in the third group, they said, you are already running late. You've got to hurry. They called this the high hurry group.
Wow.
Now, unbeknown to the students, these researchers planted a man dressed in rags and lying on the sidewalk right in the middle of their pathway. It was the only way they could go was to come across this man. And as they approached the man, he would sit up, he would groan as if he was in pain, and then he would collapse back to the ground. And here's where it gets crazy. Of the group that was in low hurry, 63% of them stopped to help the man.
Wow.
Of the group that was in medium hurry, 48% of them stopped to help the man. But of the group that was in high hurry, the group that had said, you don't have much time, you got to hurry, you're busy, less than 10% stopped to help the man. So as these students were walking across the campus to preach a sermon on the Good Samaritan, they failed to be one because they were busy. So what does busyness do? It doesn't help us love other people, even though it's often an attempt to love other people.
That's amazing. There's a scripture whenever Jesus was choosing his disciples, and it's in Mark chapter 6, I believe it is. And it says that he chose those he himself wanted, and he called them up on the mountain. And then it says this, it says that he chose them to be with him, that they might preach the gospel, they might go out, to cast out demons or whatever, do the work of ministry. But whenever we read through that, we get so focused on the preaching and the doing that we forget that the first priority that Jesus chose us for was to be with him.
Yeah.
And that's incredible parallel as it relates to, we get so busy doing that we aren't doing the business that he's called us to do.
Absolutely. So you're so true. So true. And that really leads to this question of, does busyness help us love God? Does it actually help us love God? And here's what I want you to think about, right? You are an educated man, Tony. I know this. I know you've done your biblical research. How many times in the Bible does God say to people, you're not working hard enough, hurry up, go faster, get moving?
Wow. Yeah, none.
Right. It's just like, it's very hard to think of any time. But how many times in scripture does God tell us to slow down, to be still, to move at a slower pace, to rest, to rejuvenate? I mean, the very fact that God created Sabbath as a spiritual discipline before any sin had ever entered into the world tells us that the pace of God is actually much slower than we think. And I think a lot of times we want to think of God as running really fast, and we're huffing and puffing, trying to keep up with him. And really, more often than not, God is moving much slower than we are. And he's saying, I need you to actually slow down. I need you to do less. I need you to rest. So does busyness help us love God? There's no indication in scripture that that's the case. Rather, what helps us love God is slowing down and being still and moving at a sustainable pace.
I was thinking about another scripture where God actually gets kind of accused of being too slow. And it's in Peter, and it says that God is not slow as some people call slow. This is PT's version, but it has to do with winning souls. So even in a concept of winning souls, God's not in a hurry as much as he is intentionally, strategically relating to people. Maybe I mean, you're definitely, of course, challenging me. I'm in my own life. People, when they talk to me, say, well, I know you're busy, Pastor, right? So maybe you can help us get that out of our vocabulary.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope busy becomes a bad word. In fact, I'll tell you this. This may not be church appropriate, so don't turn me off if it isn't. But a few months ago, my 10-year-old said to my wife, said, "Mom, are you okay?" And she said, yeah, I'm okay. She just had it was a hard day. And she said, yeah, I'm okay. Why do you ask? And he said, well, Mom, you're kind of looking B-wordish. And he was like, all of us were like, oh my word, we didn't even know he knew this. And we said, Toby, what do you mean? And he said, you seem a little busy.
Oh, wow.
And we were like, that's it. Busy is a bad word in our family.
That is awesome. Well, it sounds like that you are living at home what you're preaching on the pages. So that is incredible. Well, I know that we can talk about your book, but there's some principles in there, because what we want to do, and we're going to go deeper into this in our private session later, but for those who are connecting with us right now, and just as a reminder, there's comments there for you to be able to register to get access to the private coaching session with Dr. Vance. But give us some points. Help our viewers that are connected with us right now to make busyness a bad word.
Yeah.
And to help us who are overwhelmed by busyness. And the reality of it is, it's not just a neutral thing. This isn't an okay thing just because you're American to be busy, because what you're telling me is that when I'm too busy, I'm killing myself, I'm destroying my relationships, and I'm actually pushing God out of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So there's no benefits. And Tony, we didn't even go into what are the emotional effects, what are the effects on your mind, what are the effects on your productivity at work. And in the book, I even talk through what are the effects on your company, like what happens when companies become too busy. So yeah, there is no good benefit that comes from busyness other than the fact that you get to brag about how busy you feel. So yeah, let me just give you what I go through in the book are the 5 steps to kill busyness. And so a little bit of background to this. As I started researching it, I found all of these people who could tell me that busyness was bad, but I wasn't finding a whole lot of people who could help me do a step-by-step process to go from stressed out to purposeful and from exhausted to peace-filled. And so I really wanted to go into it and use myself as a guinea pig in my research, and then begin to use others as guinea pigs to say, what's a step-by-step methodology? And what I found is there's 5 steps to kill busyness and to get unbusy. And so the first step is you have to decide. You have to decide if busyness is worth it. And that's been what I've been trying to do, and you and I have been trying to do for the last few minutes, is convince you busyness isn't worth it. So you have to decide that busyness isn't worth it. And then you have to decide that you're going to get unbusy. You may not know how that's going to happen yet. You may not even know what that entails. But first, there has to be a decision of I refuse to be a victim to my own busyness any longer. So after you make that decision, then you go into the second step, which is deconstruct. And for me, this is one of the biggest ahas that I had. I had this belief that if people, once they decided to get unbusy, if they would just start identifying what their life purpose was and naming what their priorities were, then that would be the key. But that wasn't the key. What I discovered was that after a person decides to get unbusy, they have to begin deconstructing some inhibiting beliefs. One of those inhibiting beliefs we've already touched on today. There's this inhibiting belief that God wants me to be busy. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. And so we've got to deconstruct some inhibiting beliefs. And we've got to deconstruct bad habits like saying yes to people very quickly. And we've got to deconstruct some unwanted commitments. All of us actually have commitments in our lives that we don't enjoy or that don't fill our buckets, don't bring life to others. And if we can begin to deconstruct some of those commitments, then almost immediately you can get back 5 to 10 hours every week from that.
Wow. So wait. So you're saying that by becoming unbusy, you gain hours.
You gain hours, yes.
But the concept is I have to work harder to get hours or to get this or to get that. So
yeah. See, that's what we try to do is we try to convince ourselves that busyness. So this is an inhibiting belief. We think that our productivity, our accomplishment is tied to the number of hours that we work and the number of tasks that we check off our list. When really productivity is about minimizing the number of commitments that I have so that I can give my full focus and attention to the few commitments that I do make.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got to decide, we have deconstruct.
Yep. So the third step is then you begin to design, and you design the life that you want to live. You design the pace at which you want to live, and you design space. You put margin into your life, even between meetings, putting 15 minutes. I have a rule with my assistant that I never take 2 meetings back to back. I always have 15 minutes of margin in between all of my meetings, just so I can, if I'm running late, I'm not making other people late, so I can have a little bit of a breather and get my mind ready for the next meeting. So we design our pace and space. But then here's a big one that really kind of changed the way that I thought. We design the core 4. So you're asking, wait a second, what's the core 4? Well, I started asking this question of what do highly productive but unbusy people build their life around? And what I discovered is really busy people take relationships and recreation and rest and reflection, and they try to cram those into the nooks and crannies of life. But busy people don't have any nooks or crannies in their life, right? Their calendar is full. But what I found is highly productive but unbusy people actually schedule these core four: relationships, rest, recreation, and reflection. They schedule those into their calendars first and then build everything else around that. They build their work around that. They build their extracurricular activities with their kids around those four things first. And so the third step is you begin to design the life that you actually want to live.
Wow, that's good. That's really good. Somebody wrote, design your life.
Yeah. Design your life. How often do we let other people try to tell us the life that we need to have, when really we only have one person we have to answer to, and that's God, right? And he's telling us, this is the life I want you to live.
Right. That's awesome. That's good. So this is in your book, right?
Yeah, this is all in my book. In fact, in the book, I made the commitment. I was like, I'm not holding anything back. I'm giving them everything, all the best practices that I discovered, so that it's really implementable and super easy.
Awesome. Excellent. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
All
So then you get to step 4, which is develop. And develop is all about developing an unbusy calendar, an unbusy mind, and unbusy habits. So this is when you move from getting unbusy to you got unbusy, right? You are living at this unbusy state, and it's now repeatable. It's something that you can sustain for a long, long time to come.
So we go from design to develop.
Design to develop. That's right.
Say the develop ones again.
Sure. You develop an unbusy mind, because your mind is what's causes a ton of busyness, right? Unbusy habits, like building margin into your life, building very firm boundaries into your life. And then you develop unbusy habit, unbusy mind, and an unbusy calendar as well. And so how do you actually then begin to make your time management part of unbusyness? And that was a big aha for me as well, Tony. Is I thought busyness was a time management issue, but the problem was at the time I started doing my research, I had read over 300 books and articles on time management. Like, I taught courses on time management. I knew all the philosophies of time management, and yet I was still so busy. Busyness is not about your time. It's about your commitments. And so what we needed to do is we didn't even touch time management until we got to the 4th step.
Wow. Let me ask a question, because I know we're already running out of time, and this is like power-packed stuff that's challenging. How deep are you going to go in this private coaching session?
Man,
I want to grab some of these people. I want to say, look, if you haven't registered yet, you need to go into the next session with us, right?
Yeah. I tell you what, if you're enjoying this and saying to yourself, I'm busy, I need to get unbusy, man, we will go deeper into it. And in fact, I'm going to answer the very questions that you have. So if you have questions that you say, well, wait a second, I report to a boss and I can't have control over our time, I'm going to tell you how you can say no to your boss during that time. So we're going to dive deeper, and we're going to make it super personalized to what your questions are.
Awesome. So we have decide, we have deconstruct, we have design, we have develop, and the 5th
step is called draw others in.
Okay.
And this is when you draw in your family, your friends, and your coworkers. And how do you design your family's life at an unbusy pace? How do you design your team how do you draw your team at work into an unbusy pace where you are actually working less hours but accomplishing more as a company?
So you need people to help you.
Absolutely. And in fact, this was a big mistake, huge mistake I made. When I first created it, I only had the first 4 steps, and I had been coaching somebody through it. Her name was Kim. And we got to the end, and I said, Kim, you did it. You got unbusy. How do you feel? And she said, I feel really lonely. Wow. That was not what I expected to hear. But then she went on to say, I've gotten unbusy and nobody else around me understands it. And so drawing other people in is critical. It became almost immediately, it was like, there's got to be a fifth step. We've got to evangelize other people, to help them understand how to get unbusy.
That is a powerful point, because whenever this concept, well, I mean, getting unbusy is not so you can be alone. It's actually so that you can be more invested into people, more productive in the calling that is on your life. And so that's powerful. Tell me, as we're coming to the end of this part of it, give me a couple of success stories of people who have gotten unbusy. I know one. I'm looking at one right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm definitely one. Yeah. So the beauty of this is I've been able to work with CEOs and stay-at-home parents and Fortune 500 executives and doctors and just this wide spectrum of people. So I'll just give you two that I love to talk about. So the first one is named Jessica. She is a stay-at-home mom, has 6 kids. One of those is a special needs child. Wow. And her husband is an ER doctor. He works crazy hours. But as a family, they decided we're going to commit to get unbusy. And so in 2019, before all of this pandemic and all of those things, they implemented unbusyness in their life. They diminished the number of activities that their kids could be involved in. They kind of staggered things so each kid could do something, but they couldn't do them all at the same time. And then as a family, they took trips to New York City. They took trips to Disney World. They just chose, we're going to have dinner together. We're going to take trips together, and we're going to get rid of a lot of our commitments so that as a family, we can grow together. So she's one of my favorites. And then I could tell you about Mike, who is a Fortune 500 executive who was pretty doubtful that getting unbusy would work for him and for his team, but he gave it a shot. He implemented it, read the book. I did some coaching with them. And by the end of it, his whole team had implemented getting unbusy, and they're getting better sales results than they've ever gotten before. And they're working less than they've ever done before.
Wow. So getting unbusy actually makes you more productive.
Absolutely.
Dr. Vance, Garland, this has been incredible. And I've just been watching the comments of people, just how this is good. Wow. Awesome. Powerful information. And so we appreciate you taking time out of your life, your unbusy schedule. And we appreciate you being with us to invest into us tonight. And I know we're going to jump over here in just a moment into that private coaching session. Again, you will find the registration in the comments for you to be able to register. We're going to continue to take it up until right at 7:15. And Dr. Vance, if you need to transition over to that and get that set up, then I'm good with that. And I'll finish this one out, and then I'll join you over there in just a few moments. Before you go, how can people buy your book?
Yeah. So you can find it at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere where books are sold, you'll be able to find it. I will give you a trick, because it's got a funky title, right? There's no G on the end. It's Getting Unbusy. That a lot of times it's actually easier to search my name on there and just look up Garland Vance, and you'll be able to find it there.
Okay, awesome. And then we're also putting the comments in the comments how to connect with him. He does provide coaching, as he's already mentioned. And there's some of you that may want to invest into someone helping you get to this place of a better life and life to the full that busyness is stealing from you. And so, again, thank you so much for joining us. I will jump over there in just a few moments as I close out this time with our viewers. And for those of you that are staying around, let me look and see if I have our winner for tonight that's going to get this. Let me see. I don't have my winner yet. I will look. If you guys could help me with that, I would appreciate it. And we will share who the winner is this evening. Couple things I want to make an announcement about. Remember, if you're wanting to come on Sunday, please go in and register at iconchurch.cc/events. Also, next Wednesday night, I'm going to be sharing with Shannon Contreras about healing. And so this is going to be a very important topic about how to walk in and to walk through healing in your life. And so you don't want to miss next week. Go ahead and mark it off on your schedules, plan for it, and be there with us. Again, let me see if I don't have the person who won this evening in my notes yet, but when I do find them, we will contact you and make sure that you get Dr. Vance's book free of charge. We'll have it sent to you. But again, thank you for being with us this evening. Go into the comments if you want to join us in the private coaching session with Dr. Vance.